Please
Sorry,
close
Nick,
your
not
eyes.
yet.
I'm
Hold on.
sorry. Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday meditation gathering. I'm so glad you're all here to share this time together. This week we have Nick Arandes to lead us in meditation, and we're going to have 20 minutes of silence, and then Nick will come back and share some more, and we'll open it up for joining and sharing after that. And we end at 10:45. Over to you, Nick.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. And I invite you to close your eyes if you feel like, uh, and just take a deep breath, just a way of sort of relax. It's a way of just letting go. That's all. I don't want you to do anything with the mind because I don't want you to be, let's say, resisting it. Just let the mind do what it does. All we're going to do is that we're just going to allow it to be. And in that lack of resistance, what we'll observe is that thoughts are just like passing clouds. Thoughts are never the problem. The problem is when I begin to start projecting meaning onto those thoughts. But if I can just simply be, thoughts will come, thoughts will go. And this is the space in which we're going to rest for the next 20 minutes or so that we can feel the presence of love, which is all that there is. And the only reason why sometimes love appears that is not there is because it's covered up with some sort of a meaning. But as A Course in Miracles reminds me, nothing means anything. So in this space of complete trust, then we can experience literally the love that we are in this moment. So in this total surrender, I invite you to stay in space of silence. And Sharon, you can go ahead and go with begin the meditation.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
That's better. So open your eyes slowly and come back into the room. We have approximately 23 minutes left for your sharing your reflections and your questions. And also Nick is going to talk a little bit more about meditation before we do that. So if you, Nick is finished, if you'd like to speak, raise your hand, or you can use the reactions button at the bottom of the screen and I'll read it and I'll take you off of mute. If you'd like to ask Nick a question or a comment in confidentiality, put your message in chat at the bottom of the screen and I'll read it out. Over to you, Nick.
Okay, welcome back. Well, what I would like to do first is I would like to establish a base so that there's, let's say, in my, let's say, that's my way of looking at it, some congruency, some coherence with the message, meaning that A Course in Miracles, in my understanding, being a non-dual teaching, is never talking to the person. There is no person here. It's only talking to the mind that is dreaming the dream. See, that's the one that believes the dream is real, not Nick. I'm just a puppet. I'm just a projection, just like this whole world of illusion is a projection. That's why, if you notice, the course starts with nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. In my understanding, it's just nothing real, which in this case would be the mind that is dreaming the dream, or well, God is the real thing, but God is not aware of this dream according to the course. So that's what I'm not using that term. The mind that is dreaming the dream, it's real. That's the only thing that there is. Therefore, nothing real can be threatened. Now, the dream figures, the dream is what it's unreal. Nothing unreal exists. When that comprehension takes place, that's where we rest in the peace of God. So now let's use this particular quote that Bill Thetford used to love, and let's see who is that quote for. That's really what I'm going to focus on. And the quote states, that's a chapter 31, section 8, paragraph 3. It says, trials are but lessons that you failed to learn, presented once again. So where you made a faulty choice before, you now can make a better one and thus escape all pain that what you choose before has brought to you. In every difficulty, all distress, and each perplexity, Christ called to you and gently says, my brother, choose again. Okay, listen to this. This is my understanding of this quote according to a teaching that is attempting to wake up the mind, not the person, the mind from the belief that it's a dream. In the world of illusion, in the dream, the ego thought system, it keeps the mind believing that she is this person. Okay, this is the famous I that we think we are. And if the ego were to take that same quote, it brings it into the world and it believes that the person, Nick Arandes, is the one who has to choose again, as if in the dream were existing choices. In the dream, although it appears that there are choices, in reality, no choice have been made because the mind that is dreaming the dream, even if the mind in the dream were to make a choice, in reality, it did not make a choice because the mind still dreaming. So the message goes to the mind, to the decision maker in the mind, because that's the one that can choose between truth and illusions, not between illusions, is between truth and illusions. So whenever I find myself reacting to the dream, whatever, what the course is telling the mind, not to Nick, this book is not here to tell Nick what to do. This book is trying to talk to the mind that is dreaming me. What happened is that the mind that is dreaming me, she believes that she is me. So then it uses an illusion within the world. Like right now, the mind is using the illusion of a person talking to others in a Zoom, but it's not for me to talk to you because there's no me and there's no you. This is the scenario within the dream that the ego uses to make believe that I am a person and you're there. And now, if we allow this, uh, if we put in the hands of the Holy Spirit, put it this way, in the mind, all the Holy Spirit is going to do is to tell the mind, is just going to use this same dream to remind the mind that this is all a dream. So what happens? When the mind is identified with the ego thought system, the first problem is that it believes the dream is real. It believes that I am this person. This is who I am. And let's say I have a situation in the world that is happening, difficulty, whatever the case may be. The ego will take those words and it says, okay, I am attracting this kind of problems in my life, so I have to choose again. So hopefully the problem will change. But that keeps the mind dreaming. On the other hand, if I know that these words are talking to the mind that is dreaming the dream, then it's not about if the illusion changed or not, is that it becomes conscious that it is dreaming a dream. Now the mind is conscious that the choice that made in the mind by choosing a different teacher is not that the dream will change, is letting them know it's a dream. That's what in my understanding is refers to as the happy dream. The happy dream is not that the world of illusions changes to my according to what I feel it should be. No, the happy dream is when the mind is conscious of the fact that it's dreaming a dream. See, now when the mind is conscious that it's dreaming a dream, nothing that takes place in the dream can affect her. See, and that's where lies the peace of God. And that's the attitude towards lesson 155 points to when it says, I will step back and let him lead the way. It's another way of saying I'll step back, meaning I know nothing and I just trust that life is in charge. And that's how I let him lead the way, not by telling, look what my problem is. It's simply just knowing that I don't know. And that's why this paragraph says, there is a way of living in the world that is not here, although it seems to be. You do not change appearance, though you simply more you, though you smile more frequently. Your forehead is serene, your eyes are quiet, and the ones who walk the world as you do recognize their own. Yet those who have not yet perceived the way will recognize you also and believe that you are like them as you were before. In my understanding of that line, what he's telling me is that there is a way of living in this world where I'm still seeing you, we're still interacting, that is not of this world. Why? Because the mind is conscious that this is just a projection. And then, although it seems like I am connecting with you, like right now I'm talking to you, I could be living like it's you say, oh, yeah, it's talking to me. This is a regular guy or whatever. But the mind is resting in a space of knowing that cannot be described. And then you do not change appearances. You see, it's not like all of a sudden I'm going to change, something is going to change. No, I'm going to be the same guy. Nothing is going to change except the way the world is being perceived. See, and that's what makes me tranquil while everybody's still believing the illusion and whatever the case may be, right? And it says, your forehead is serene, your eyes are quiet, because that's a reflection of your state of mind, not of your state in the world. The problems may still there, it won't change, but now it won't bother you, won't be bothered by it. Then says, and the ones who walk the world as you do recognize their own, meaning that even though we haven't changed in the form, there's a recognition, there's an awareness that, we know, you see. And yet then it says, yet those who have not yet perceived the way will recognize you also and believe that you are like them as you were before. Meaning that when you go to your job, your boss is going to see you exactly the same way. Your spouse is going to see you exactly the same way if they're not in this space, if they're not in this journey, obviously. And it's like you haven't changed, and they will still think that you're exactly just like you've always been, but because they cannot be conscious of your conscious change because they don't have that conscious change in them. So the question is, okay, now that this theory is known, because the theory is one thing, but now how do we bring this into the practice? Where A Course in Miracles is very simple. It goes straightforward. Simply, Once the theory is clear, the Course in Miracles says the way you know that you are believing yourself to be a separate entity, the way you know that this dream seems to be real to you is the way I'm reacting to it. That's it. So when I'm reacting to the dream, obviously I am believing the dream is real, meaning the mind has chosen the ego thought system. And that's where the lesson goes to. That's when it tells the mind, choose again, meaning choose a different teacher in the mind so that it can change its interpretation of the dream. The interpretation of the dream, according to the ego, is this dream or this illusion is different than this other illusion. You see, within the dream the interpretation of the Holy Spirit in the mind is this is not real, and the only thing that is real is the place or the space in which you now are resting. You see? So now, when that is integrated, you live according to what A Course in Miracles would call a teacher of God. A teacher of God is not an individual who goes into the dream to try to teach figures in the dream anything, because that is the belief that the dream is real. The teacher of God is the attitude of that which knows truth. Jesus is a teacher of God. Buddha is a teacher of God. And each and every one of us can be a representation of the teacher of God by the mere fact of knowing what I am. And that is the attitude of the teacher of God. And then you go to the world, and yes, your boss will see you just exactly as you're before. So the lesson will not go for that person, obviously. Actually, it doesn't go for anybody, but just for the sake of language. But yet, there are those who may be ready for a radical teaching like this one, or in other words, of a remembrance that this world is an illusion, and life will present those encounters, you see, and that's how you uh, 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 become the example, as the Course says, teaching is to demonstrate, because your desire for truth. And in this particular encounter, so to speak, see, I put it in quotes as if this is happening, but this is just the limitation of language. In this encounter, Nick Arandes is not here to teach anything to anybody, because then I'm just buying the whole dream like everyone. However, this is a happening. And in this happening, as I completely observe how the mind surrenders to spirit, and this is just what it is, I trust that whatever words are happening right now are just simply words that are taking place, which reminds the mind that this is just a dream. It's an illusion, has nothing to do with my reality. And that's how we rest in peace. You see, rest in God, rest in truth. And then I continue living my life just like I've always done. The difference is that the attitude from which life is being lived is different, because the mind is consciously aware that this is just a made up story. It has nothing to do with my reality. So what happened? When that begins to settle in, obviously your attitude is going to show it. It's going to show it because now you're not taking the dream so seriously. Okay. And the second thing is that the fear of death completely disappears, because there's no I who can die, because there's no I, there's no me, there's just what it is. You see? And now you live your life like normal. The only thing is that you don't go telling everybody, oh, this is an illusion, because this is the ego who thinks that knows something. You see? It's just like, it's a natural way of living, just regularly. The only thing is that, while just for the sake of language, everybody takes the world so serious and they're so worried about anything, you're just kind of coasting, observing. Okay, look, yeah, look what's happening in the world. Oh, look what it's like going to a movie theater. See, Jesus is sitting next to you in the seat, and sometimes the movie will have scenes that seem to be very, 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 I don't know, very impressive. And the only difference between Jesus and you, both of you are sitting in the same, in two different chairs. The only difference, the movie hasn't changed. The only difference is that I am believing the movie is real, and Jesus next to me knows that it's not. And then what he does is that, and that's the choose again. The ego would say, choose a different movie. The Holy Spirit says, no, Choose again means look to your side, choose a different teacher. That's what choose again means to me, according to what the course is telling me. So in each moment, I have an opportunity to choose again. How do I choose again? It's very simple, by knowing that I know nothing. You see, a child knows that it knows. See, the innocence of a child is that it knows nothing. The arrogance of an adult is that it thinks that it knows something. You see? So now you can go straight to lesson number 5. I'm never upset for the reasons I think. I'm never excited for the reasons I think. In other words, I'm never reacting for the reasons I think, because the reasons I think that I'm reacting is what the mind uses to make the illusion real. I'm reacting to this situation. No, I'm reacting because I am believing the dream. That's the only way, the reason I'm reacting. See? So, or you can go to lesson number 1. Nothing means anything. Or you can go to chapter 14, which I quote constantly because it's so beautiful. Chapter 14, section 11, paragraph 6, which says, when your peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, say to yourself, I do not know what anything, including this, means. And so I do not know how to respond to it. And I will not use my own past learning as the light that guide me now. What is my own past learning? The ego says the things that happen in the world that I've learned. In my understanding, my own past learning is that which reinforces the belief that I am this human being. It doesn't matter what it is. You see? So when I just jump into the emptiness, then yeah, I still perceive the delusion as if I'm a human being talking to other humans, but there's a space in which I rest. And that's where, to me, the course is inviting me all the time. And that's all I have to do. That's why it's very simple. It's no complicated here. I don't have to engage the mind into anything. I don't know anything. I don't know. My name is Nick Arandes. Well, that's just part of what is happening in the illusion, but that has nothing to do with who I am. You see? And that keeps settling in. And then the mind begins to disengage. That's why the course says, I need do nothing. The moment I try to begin to understand anything, I'm lost, because the mind is completely engaged in the movie. You see? So I don't know. The character wakes up in the morning, life begins, or the experience of the illusion begins. And now there's an awareness that says, I know absolutely nothing. And from that place, I rest. And then I trust that whatever I say is what has to be said, because, that's what happens in the dream. Whatever I do is what has to be done, because that's what's happening in the dream. And everything has the same thing in common. Nothing means anything. And that's how we rest in peace, which is the invitation that the course is giving us right now. It's not something I have to put on a tombstone. It's the invitation of this moment. I can rest in peace. And the way I can rest in peace is by knowing that I know absolutely nothing. Well, having said that, have any questions or something? Something that I can, you
Nick,
know.
I have a comment in chat. It says, I have something I have to do, but I cannot face doing it. In the world's terms, this means this thing is of the utmost importance, but I'm just not going to do it. But I'm but I'm just not doing it and putting it off. Every day I take it to Holy Spirit in meditation, asking Him to guide me, and nothing happens. Am I doing enough, or do I need to use my ego to force myself to do this?
That's a very good question. It's very simple. The question is coming from the belief that he is a person who has a will to do things. You see, if I am a dream figure, I don't have free will to choose what to do in the world or not what to do in the world. The question that that person is asking, well, if the person finds himself or herself thinking that may need to get some help in that sense, in the form, well, that's something that may happen either way. But what we don't want to do is not confuse truth with illusions. You see, that's what is called the confusion in levels, confusing form and content. I'm not talking about what to do in the world. That's irrelevant. Everybody has their own script. You know, what I'm talking is about reminding that you are not this person that you believe yourself to be. The moment the mind believes that she is this person that believes itself to be, all those questions that you're talking about are going to arise. What do I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I go to a motivational speaker or should I go to therapy? Should I do that? No, it's very simple. Look how simple life is. Check this out. This is simple. How do you all know that you need to be here listening to this Zoom? You know how do you know that? Because that's what's happening. And you have no control over this. You didn't choose to be here in this Zoom doing that. You see, that's where the course is pointing to. But the ego takes the course, brings it into the dream, and brings it into the world. You see, and then he begins to ask all kinds of questions that has no answer. The truth is, I cannot offer you an answer for that. I don't know if you're well, if your character feels that needs to do nothing, well, that's what's happening. But you can rest in the peace of this moment if simply realize, you know what, in my dream, it seems like I need to do this, but I don't find myself doing it. Well, I don't feel guilty for not doing it. It just, that's what's happened. That's what I have to do. This is what I need to do in my dream. It's like somebody saying, man, you know, I wish I was a woman, but I was born a man. Well, you were born a man. That's what you, I mean, it's like when you go to the casino, you lay the cards. There's no guarantee you're going to win. So if you want to be a human being, meaning you want to choose the ego, if the mind wants to choose the ego thought system, these are the consequences. See, it's not about fixing the character. It's about knowing that I am not the character. So if I were to try to answer the question to that person, I am becoming part of the ego's strategy to make believe that there's a person there, there's a question that is legitimate, and now I can offer some sort of a solution to that. There's no solution. Is that in this moment, choose again, meaning that who am I? That's the question that needs to be asked. That's the most important question of them all. Because if that question is not answered, that is covered over by the belief system that sustained this individual. So if you ask me, how do I live my life? I don't know. I have no clue how to do it. I never knew, but I thought I did in the past. This all that there is this instant. And in this instant, I'm always reminded, who am I? And now, as I keep resting in the space of love and peace, which is what I am anyway, I trust that whatever I need to do is what needs to be done. So the way I look at it is that simple. If this person says, I need to do this, but he's not doing it, it's because in his script, he's not supposed to do that. And that's that simple, you see? And then there's no struggle. It's just like what's happening. Okay, I thought that I wanted to do this. And then the thing is that the ego thought system begins to give to the Holy Spirit stuff. And the Holy Spirit says, what are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. All I'm asking you is to stop uh, uh, thinking that you know anything. You know, just surrender. That's what lesson 189, paragraph 7, forgive this world and just surrender to your God. In that state of surrender, trust that whatever you need to do is what needs to be done. You see? So in the level of the form, the person is asking all sorts of questions to solve a particular riddle, so to speak. But in the level of the content, Jesus is sitting next to you saying, hey, relax, relax. It's still a movie. That's not who you are. You don't have to do anything. Don't need to do anything. Just shut up. Just relax. And in that space, trust. Right now, these are the words that are coming through me. Why? I'm not thinking them. This is just what's happening. And I have no idea what's going to happen during the day. And I don't care either, because I rest in the space in which I know that everything is being done through me, not it's not me doing it, you see? And that's how the guilt immediately drops. And that's how the course says you're innocent. And it doesn't matter what you do in the world, you don't prove anything by doing or not doing. You're not a failure, not a success. You're not any of those. You're the child of God who's dreaming a dream and you're believing that the dream is real. That's all. That's the simplicity of it all. So once again, in the level of the form, well, if the person feels that needs to do something, that's not something that the person will do. That is what is already in the script. You see, this is not something that is happening in time. This is something that supposedly is being undone many times ago. This is a review. And that's why the quote once stated again, choose again. Choose again doesn't mean give to the Holy Spirit, so hopefully something will change. No, choose again to know that it's a dream. You see, the forgiveness, know that it's a dream and the content is not true. That's where I'm focusing all the time. That's where I'll always keep the focus on the attention on. This word points to that. And in that sense, you notice that the question dissolves itself because it doesn't make any sense. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I cannot give you an advice of anything. All I can to remind you is this, the one who's asking the question is not who you are. The ego is the only one that asks a question. That's what I always say in my talks. I said, whenever a question arises, okay, is a trap, because the only one that asks the question, which is the ego, the spirit has no question, cannot receive an answer. Because if I were to give an answer to the question of that which is asking the question, I am reinforcing the belief that the one that is asking the question is real, and there's no one here. This is why
Okay,
the
Nick, can I stop
radicalism.
you there? I want to make time for another question. Caroline, would you like to share something?
Hi, I actually feel myself, I must be very brave because in respect of what you've just said, I'm not here and I shouldn't really have a question.
No, there's no shoot. There's no shoot. It's what's happening.
Okay, so
that's fine.
So to help with the healing of my mind, it would be really, really helpful for you to give my ego a big slap, because what it likes to produce, and it has produced over about 15 years, is a deep belief in individualized spirit. I had an awakening in 2006 where I began to hear umpteen voices, just so many voices of supposedly dead people. It was very overwhelming, and so many experiences. But I got into the habit of creating ways to deal with it through loving means. And when my ego is very strong, it likes to be quite fearful about who these images are that keep coming up, whether they're aspects of my mind or somebody else's mind. So you can understand hallucinations quite strong, you know. And I sometimes comfort myself, or my ego likes to comfort itself in its version of this by looking at reports of near-death experiences where they go into the light and there's a tunnel and they receive, you know, all this lovely experience and what have you. And it's sort of a conundrum that, or a defense that my ego uses against the truth that we are all one, we're all united and we're all together. And I battle with that. It is a battle, I'm afraid. I recently decided that I was going to be stronger in this battle and get rid of my television, because I noticed that watching television at night stimulates the mind and it creates more hallucinations. So, but now what I'm up against is that there's more space to hear more thoughts. So if you could just give me a slap, really, just tell myself, if you could just tell me, Nick, because I'd greatly respect your opinion. And I know you're not really here, and I know I'm not really here, but could you just slap me, slap my ego?
Yeah. Well, that kind of personal, you know. Okay, it's very simple. It's very, very simple. First of all, according to my concept, okay, let's define what ego is. The ego is not something that I have. The ego is the experience of separation itself, meaning that this whole illusion is ego, meaning that I am ego, you are ego, we all are ego. See, I don't have an ego, but that's a very subtle way in which the ego spiritualizes itself, and now it makes believe that it talks about the ego and how to let go of the ego, not realizing that all it's doing with that is a strategy to put your attention on the ego. But the ego does not exist. There's no such thing as ego, because what you are, what I am, is that which cannot be described in words. See? So that's very simple. I don't have to fight my ego. Ego is like the experience. The human experience is the ego experience. You see? Spirit is. So now you can take that out of the way. Now, so the best way to not to deal with the ego, so to speak, is just don't pay attention to it. That's also the risk. This is the human experience. Now, you're having uh, an experience supposedly appears to be a you who seems to have experiences, okay, like we all have here, supposedly, where you hear all these kinds of voices, and then you label yourself, uh, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it a schizophrenic who hears all these voices. Well, I got good news for you. We are all schizophrenics. I think I'm talking to you. You see, it just so happens that my level of schizophrenia, because I'm identified with this person, I am a sane one. I'm sane, and you're not, because your voices, you hear them in a different level, but I'm talking to you right now. So I'm just as crazy as you are. You see? So I'm not saying, oh, I try to let go of my ego so I don't have the experience of me talking to this woman. No, I am crazy by thinking that I'm here talking to you.
It does say we're insane in the course. It talks about us being completely insane.
That's it. That's the mean, because he's telling the mind. Remember, the course is not talking to the person. This is very important. The course is talking to the mind that is dreaming the person. The course is not talking to me, telling me I am insane. The course is talking to the mind, since you're insane by believing that this dream is your reality. You see, that's why there's nothing to do. So in your script, it happens that you hear a lot of thoughts just like I hear them. The only thing is that you label those thoughts, I don't know, whatever you want to label them or something like that. And then the ego, who's again is the believing separation, who's filled with concepts, tells you don't watch TV, as if the TV has any effect on you, as if the world of illusion has any effect on you. And yet the Holy Spirit is telling you, I don't give a darn if you watch TV or not, because it's an illusion and has no effect on you. All I want you is to simply drop the meaning you're giving to anything. Meaning, in a way, is just know you're nothing. You have a lot of voices you hear. Well, there you great. You have a party. Congratulations. That's a party that I'm not invited. That's it. But we have another party here. You see? And then you take the weight off of it. You see? That's how you take the weight off of it. That's what I mean, that there's nothing to do. Now, the only problem is that you are identified with you, that this is who you are, and then I have these thoughts, I hear these voices. But let's look at it this way, okay? If all that there is all there is, we have no words for that. Nick Arandes don't have any thoughts. If you notice in the meditation, the first thing I said is that let it be. Jesus, look at the Beatles, for crying out loud. They were enlightened. They told you right there. Let it be. Sometimes my mind is going crazy. Let it be. Sometimes the mind is more quiet. Let it be. Is that my ego? I don't give a darn. It's just what's happening. And that's how you relax and the Holy Spirit can do the work. But you see, all the questions you're asking are basically very subtle traps, so you can still holding on to your sense of identity and say, this is who I am. I am having these thoughts. I am hearing these voices, my ego, and you're completely lost in it, when it's more simpler than that. Today, the mind has to have thoughts. Why? Because that's what's happening. Today, you see what I'm getting at? And then you may say, but I mean, should I ask for help or should I seek help? It's very simple. If help is needed for you in a particular form, that will happen as part of your script. So this encounter that it seems, remember, seems to be taking place right now on a Wednesday of a March in 2021, which is part of the same picture illusory, is another opportunity or another illusion that the minds project to remind itself nothing is true. You see? So now you can relax. You don't want to watch TV. It's not because you don't want to watch TV. It's because that's what's happening in your dream. That's it. And then you relax. See, and that's so you don't have an ego, because the ego is the belief in separation. That's what ego means, believing separation. So if you believe you're a person, that's ego. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to go telling anyone you're not a person, because that's the ego who think that knows something. You see, it's just an awareness in which you rest when you drop everything. That's why, again, go to lesson 189, paragraph 7, and stick with that. It just summarize it all. It tells you, forget everything you think you know. And that's what I'm pointing to, you see, because this is not something that you can understand. This is not something that I can convey because there's no one here. This is just an appearance that it's taking place so that the mind that is dreaming the dream reminds itself nothing is real. Nothing real, which is what you are in essence, can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. This whole Zoom, this dream doesn't exist. And that's where lies the peace of God. And if in your dream, it happens that, you listen, you hear these voices, well, just talk, have fun with them. I talk to myself all the time. If they have like cameras or something like that, you'll go, this guy's crazy all the time. But I don't bully myself. I don't feel guilty for it. Okay, well, that's what's happened. And that's it. Like this moment, this is just a happening, and that's it. No big deal. Just drop all the stories. Holy Spirit, you want me to hear 20,000 voices? Okay, I'm open.
Yeah, I just send them love. I just realized it doesn't matter who
yeah.
where they come from, just send them love.
Okay. There's a trap there. You don't send love to anyone because there's no you. Love is what you are. Love is the place in which you're resting right now. The moment you begin to say, I'm going to send them love, then all the attention goes back again to the identity of this I, and then you get lost.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Okay, we've come to the top of the hour, Nick. Thank you so much. Take yourself off of mute and show your appreciation to Nick.
Wonderful. Thank you,
everybody.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.
That was
Thank you.
very, very helpful. Thank you.
you.
God bless.
Thank you.